Kenny Omega. Here he is.
Funko.
Yeah, this is the Funko Pop. I don't know if you can see through the packaging, or on this side might be better. But you see this costume right here. Very famous costume, or at least, I don't know. I think it's kind of famous. It means a lot to me.
It's near and dear to your heart.
Yeah, I've only worn it a few times in history, and it was the costume that I wore at Wrestle Kingdom versus Chris Jericho, and I guess people like that match. Tony Khan watched that match. I think he said that he liked it a lot.
And
that was
TK
one
was
of
a
the
big fan of it.
And he said it was one of the reasons why he thought AEW could work on American soil. So near and dear to my heart, the tights, the leggings themselves. They're up somewhere in Shibuya, Japan. Shibuya, Tokyo, Japan, at Hao Ming's shop, hanging up, probably with my signature or something like that, with a picture of him, of me doing something with Chris Jericho. They're there, but what he doesn't know is that I still own the kick pads. I still own the knee pads. They're the missing link. The tights are somewhere in Japan, in Tokyo. But if you want the missing pieces that will never ever go anywhere but here, this auction.
This auction right here, right now.
Yep. You can have them.
Go. I'll put them in for the close-up camera right here.
Ring worn,
Ring
probably,
worn.
geez, I'm going to say twice. Maybe I wore that gear twice.
I mean, still pristine. It's just the detail.
It's like there's no damage on the gear whatsoever.
And just the detail on the kick pads is ridiculous. I mean,
Yes.
Highspots, we make kick pads. I mean, I know Michael would like to buy them, but I guarantee this is going to go way higher than what he is expecting or anybody's expecting. But just the detail on just the actual gear itself in the kick pads is
Yeah, it was
incredible.
really cool because we get a real cool 3D effect. I don't know if you can look at it.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's like there's grooves in it. You know, like these actually bubble out. That's kind of neat. Yeah, it was kind of the motif I was going for. Same with the little ropey thing on the tights. Real proud of this gear. I love the way it turned out. I love the match, so I love the show. I always love my Tokyo Dome shows and performances and stuff that I've done in New Japan, and Japan is real special to me. So this costume is real special, and hopefully it can find a good home for someone who likes ring-worn gear. I guess let's start the bids at $5, right? $5 for the whole set.
I'm going to skip the first 50 or so. We're currently at $500.
Great.
500,
Okay.
great.
Wonderful.
Very, very
Stephen Burton.
Stephen Burton,
There you
$500, and also too, as a reminder, guys, make sure you pay those auction win invoices. I'm sure Jacob Muir is probably in his email right now paying the
He's
invoice.
there. We know he's there.
We know he's there.
He's done there. This isn't first rodeo.
Definitely not his first rodeo.
He's done this before.
He's done this before. He's
He's
got
a
a
pro.
lot more. He's a pro.
You guys want to?
Anthony is
Oh.
at 510.
Dylan Anthony.
Great.
Loves ring one gear. Here it is.
Here it is.
Love it, yep.
Everybody was asking about ring-worn gear. We didn't know until you walked through the door and you brought
I know
this
it's crazy.
gym. This
What's
gym right
crazy
here.
though, it's like when I hear the term ring worn gear, I think I'm gonna look at something really worn, like worn.
Yeah.
But this
is
again,
pristine.
This is pristine. Gosh darn it!
Pristine.
I can't even find like the stitch work. It's all
Impeccable.
yeah. There's no tears. It's not stinky. Like knee pads usually stinky, guys. Trust me.
They're the worst. They're the
But
smelliest.
these are not
No.
at all. And I don't think the kick pads are either. You check it. Kick pads?
No, it's a beautiful
Pristine!
smell. I wish.
Pristine!
This is better. This is better than the body gel that they have in the showers upstairs.
There you go, yeah.
I wish I could take this in the shower and scrub it all over my body tomorrow, but I can't.
So William Concepcion paid for that ring. He's just asking if we put two William on camera.
Okay.
Absolutely.
To this ring right here, to William. He paid for it. So
You bet.
We've already signed it.
he's
It's two
he's
William.
already signed it. He's got to put to William right there. You can
Okay.
put it right anywhere you want.
You bet. Thank you very much, William.
Thank you so much for paying the invoice to William, and thank you for being a new member of HighspotsAuctions.com. You have some
William.
very nice handwriting. That is
Oh,
incredible.
come on, man.
No, that's beautiful. I've been looking at signatures all day. That is some beautiful
It's to
letter.
William, okay?
It's to William right there.
You expect
to
me
William.
not to try for William? Come on. Thank you, William.
You
Thank
try very hard, and you always try very hard in the ring. And I gotta say,
Try. Yeah. Try it. Sometimes
you don't
fail.
always succeed.
Sometimes I
you
fail
try,
miserably,
you
but
try,
I try,
you try very
yeah.
hard. But I gotta say, and this is a personal thing to me, and I'm glad I'm saying this in front of the camera. You have been a huge inspiration to me as a
Oh.
wrestler.
Wow.
in the
Well, thank
way
you.
in the way that you have
Thank you.
have viewed professional wrestling. I've part of the like later in my career, I'm like, what do I want to do with wrestling? How do I view wrestling? I view wrestling as an art form. I've used it as something different, do something different, unique with it. I've had wrestling matches with tents. I've had wrestling matches with a whole feud with a wrestling camping tent.
Yeah.
And it's all based off of your ability to look at wrestling differently.
Well, thank you.
And I just want to know, how did you formulate this idea? Because you were like one of the first people that were doing unique things. I remember a video of you very early before I ever met you, knew of you, before the world knew of you. You were like fighting somebody outdoors and taking a backdrop into a lake.
That's true,
You were
yeah.
doing all these wild and crazy things before everybody else. You were ahead of the curve on looking at wrestling differently. It took me 15 years just to get to where you were at very early in your career. How
You know.
did you come to this conclusion of what wrestling is?
So I think, and this might sound odd, but what helped me was falling out of love of wrestling, falling completely out of love with it.
Same. I consider myself a failure, and I'm like, what do I
Right.
got to lose now?
So yeah, I mean, I went to WWE and then Deep South Wrestling,
Yeah.
and I was in their developmental system. And when I got to that level, which is the epitome of professional wrestling,
Yeah,
right?
the dream.
Exactly. That I was on the doorstep of living the dream. So I wasn't quite living the dream, but I was in the developmental position of living a dream that a professional wrestler would want to live.
Yes.
And yet I wasn't happy. And yet I didn't like the person I had to become. And yet I didn't like the way I had to act. Yet I didn't like feeling like I was being programmed. I didn't like having my originality and my creativity taken away from me. So when I left Deep South Wrestling, I thought, is it that I hate wrestling, or is it just that I hate the idea of what people train you to believe wrestling is? And it took me a while to struggle with that. And I think, at least in the independent level, and in places in Japan, like DDT, for example, they allow you to be creative, and they allow you to make wrestling what you see it as. So, because wrestling can be anything, it's not that I hated wrestling, it's just that I hated the idea that everyone had trained unto me of what wrestling is and what the highest level of professional wrestling was.
That's what wrestling could be.
Exactly. So what I wanted to explore at that point was, what can wrestling be, and can I be myself and explore this gigantic world of what wrestling can be and be successful? If I can't, that's fine. I'll bow out and I'll leave, and I'll just retire, and it'll be over. That'll be the end of it. And as I began this exploration of professional wrestling and try to get away with these ideas that were kind of unique and sort of original, and maybe things that people hadn't seen in a ring or outside of a ring, but were still in the world of wrestling, I was finding success. Whether it was like small levels of success, they began to grow and snowball, and finally people enjoyed this idea that wrestling can be more than just what one company presents to you. And I still think that there are certain things about wrestling that I dislike, and it's hard for me to be an actual fan of certain types of things. But what I appreciate in pro wrestling is that it can be anything, and that is why I'll always sort of be a student of the game, and why I'll always be so open-minded to watching all different kinds of programming and promotions and wrestlers and things like, for example, $5 wrestling.
Oh,
You know what I mean? And I was going to say, like, one of my favorite stories, you're talking about the way that you approach wrestling differently. One of my favorite storylines in wrestling was when you turned on Freight Train. So things like that, where you actually feel something, where you're having fun with it, and you want to see the next step and where it goes from there and what's next. That's what makes wrestling real fun and real cool, and why at that point it sort of justifies episodic wrestling. Because if you're just like tuning, I remember when I fell out of love wrestling, and I'm like, I'm just gonna watch because I'm supposed to. But when it's not like a Breaking Bad episode, or when it's not like whatever Cobra Kai, where you're like, I want to know what happens next, then why you even watch it? You know what I mean? What's making you watch that next episode? What's the hook? I think there needs to be that hook. And of course, I'm only one person. I can only do my part. But I tried my best to do that part so that I can be interesting for the person that is watching what I do.
Well, let's see
So
what
that's
the
a long
bids-
answer.
well,
Yeah.
it's a great answer.
All right, so.
But the bids
I'm
do
gonna
it.
tell you what the bids are. Jacob Meir has paid for this jacket.
Okay.
He's asked
Congrats.
us to sign the back.
The back.
Say something nice about Canada, and please write in Japanese, and put your on it. He's a fellow Canadian.
Okay. So something nice about Canada, preferably in
And
Japanese.
he's asked if you could write it in Japanese.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
And as far as the bids, Rin Takibana is at 905.
Knowing how this, I'm gonna actually write, it needs to be on camera, right? Okay.
Yeah, what we're doing right now. And I'm trying to hold it as tightly as possible. Try to assist you as much as possible. I don't know if I'm giving you enough room to write Japanese or not. I have no idea.
No, it's okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Literally, as you're thinking about this, bids are up to 920.
920.
I'm gonna autograph it first while I think about it.
Yeah. It's,
Yeah. Just spread that.
yeah,
Yeah.
there we go.
Get that part done. And is he listening to this? Does he want his name as well?
I don't think he wants his name, he just wants you to say something about Canada.
Mm,
We're putting you too much on the
kind
spot,
of
we can do it later.
Saikyo no Kuni. Just give me a sec. I just
No
gotta
worries.
make sure my kanji's up to spec.
We're up to 920, but who's right now at 920 on the bids,
Right
Mike?
now, Emily Alva, we've had 3 bids over 900, we're currently at 920 with Emily Alva.
Emily Alvo, and also to Emily, make sure you have a highspotsauctions.com account.
She does.
Emily, love you so much. Thank you for getting a
That'll be
Highspots
the
auctions
easiest way to
account.
do that, yeah.
So we got Kenny's gonna write that right now, guys. If it gets too rich for your blood, let us know if you're in or you're out. The faster you let us know that you're out, the next we get to the last auction item of the evening. So that's very important that you let us know if you're in or out. We got a couple bids over 900. The lag is very real, so we're giving you more than enough time to do that and take care of that for right now. So just let us know if you're in or out so we can settle up this wonderful ring worn gear. Doesn't smell ring worn whatsoever. Is available. Where are the bids at right now, Michael?
We're at 930, and he did say if you could add 2 Jacob to that jacket.
You bet.
All right, Jacob, we got you taken care of. He'll put the 2 Jacob right now. It's translating right now.
Rin Takibana is at 930.
Ren is at 9:30 is where we're at right now. 9:30. Emily, let us know if you're in or you're out. The faster you do that, the faster we can settle up this auction and move on to the last auction item of the evening.
Jacob.
Jacob right there, and Jacob will show the jacket here, signed by Kenny himself here on camera. And thank you so much, Jacob, for paying your invoice.
Yeah, you're man.
You're a champ. From one Jacob to
chipper.
another, you're one of my
Yeah.
favorites.
Dylan Anthony at 950.
Dylan Anthony at 950.
All right. Just to
Alright.
make sure we had correct.
Right there. Signed here. Go ahead, Michael, to take this back if you don't mind. Thank you. But it's funny you talk about me turning on freight trains. That was a complete accident.
Oh, really?
It wasn't the original plan.
Wow. Well, then what inspired it?
What was inspired was
You just read the crowd?
necessity.
Yeah, I mean,
So, freight train that we built for over the years. It was supposed to be, we showed matches, but everybody wanted to meet the $5 wrestlers, and then
they did.
then we ran another one where we had freight train just come out and cut a promo.
Yeah.
And then the next year, they're like, oh, they want to see Freight Train wrestle. Well, I had Freight Train booked against a wrestler, and he couldn't make it.
Yeah. Oh,
Canceled.
okay.
Then I had a list of other wrestlers, but then they just didn't. I didn't know if they really got who Freight Train was.
Right.
That's important. Like, are they gonna have this good match? And then of course, like the crowd starts showing up, and I go, who are we gonna get? And one wrestler knew I was hurting for somebody, and kind of took advantage of the situation,
Oh.
and was like, I'll do it for X. And I know that he was charging me double what he would. I'm like,
Right, right,
And I
right.
consider that person kind of a friend.
Uh-huh.
So I felt very betrayed. And
Yeah.
I kind of like, it was literally like maybe 10, 15 minutes before the show started. I was like,
You're ultimate warrior a little bit, huh? You're
"Wh-
ultimate warrior.
Why don't I just do it?
Yeah.
I guess I wasn't wrestling at all. Like,
Yeah.
and there was a million shows that entire weekend, and I was
Yeah.
kind of salty about it. So I just used all that, and I figured, what better story to tell?
And you had the audience at that point too. That crowd was hot and riled up, and they're, boy, That was what a. It reminded me of some of those old ECW situations where you'd have, or NWO forming, where you have garbage thrown in the ring or steel chairs thrown in the ring. It was a wild time, and I was glad to see it.
Well, it was intense when it happened because
kidding.
Because there's no guardrails. Everybody's
Right.
up against the ring.
Yeah.
So when I did it, people didn't expect it. So I got a actual response.
Yes.
Which is what you want out of professional wrestling. So when it happened and it did it, and I kept talking, and I started to feel like this feeling of like I'm feeling the crowd getting closer,
Right.
and I'm like, something might happen
Yeah.
if I don't give him a comeback soon.
You'd known that it had grown out of hand a little bit.
Yeah, I felt that anger that something could get out of hand very fast. So I was like, so I stopped talking and like I got to get him back up and beating me up as fast as possible.
Yeah.
It's like those old they talk. I know it sounds weird, but it's like those old timers when they talk about Puerto Rico or the territory.
Yeah,
days.
yeah, exactly.
Like that feeling. Like it was the first time I ever felt that before, and that's what
Magical.
that was. And it was just all out of necessity. And then I made it a whole year-long feud and just built that on the necessity.
It was great. Now I just think it was fantastic that via $5 wrestling that some of these guys who just had dreams of becoming a professional wrestler were able to get work outside of $5, and they're able to actually travel cross country, cross the ocean. You know what I mean? To be able to perform their craft and kind of live their dream to its highest degree. Yeah. It was a real incredible thing.
And also too, like I would have loved to have booked you against Jeff Hart.
I would have loved to have accepted that match. Yeah.
I was trying to bait you. I was trying to bait you hard. this WrestleMania, I was trying to bait you really. I don't know if you saw the videos or not.
No, I saw them.
I knew.
I can't remember why. There was a reason beyond my circumstance. Like there's circumstances beyond my control which caused me to not be able to be there. I can't remember what it was, but I was heartbroken to not be able to do it.
Yeah. Because I was putting it out there. I had him tear up a picture of you and everything, and just like.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
Yeah. I mean, and the match you had with Joey Janela was.
I heard really great as well.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
But like, what a lot of people don't know is I remember we had a misconnection. You were telling me that you had some $5 wrestling guys in Japan.
Oh, I had guys that were definitely $5. Yeah, and I thought it would have been really cool to do like the Japanese version of it because I was as much of a whale of a time I was having watching like your guys' stuff. With my friends back in Canada, we have sort of that version of these DVDs that I've amassed in Japan that fans have given me during my time in DDT. Where it's like, check out these guys. And I've even done some matches with these guys as well, sort of like how Joey did the match with Jeff Hart, where I've mixed it up with these guys, and they're all friendly people and all real nice. And there's definitely a demand for what they do. They have like their sort of cult following, and I would have loved to have seen the worlds collide.
I remember we were talking about it, but it was so difficult for me because at that time I was the only video editor at Highspots.
Yeah.
So I think it was more like I never replied to an email back. I remember us corresponding via email.
Yeah, we were. Yeah, we were.
And it was definitely probably something on my part.
It was probably both ways because it was just a little too sporadic, and I think
because I think you were building momentum. My workload was getting bigger, and it just kind of it kind of fizzled out.
I think like at the moment when it could have happened, it's like that was the moment when I could have made it happen, and then when you were able to make it happen was when I sort of spun out of control and was already too busy. Kind of thing.
Yeah, I think we both spiraled away from.
Right, exactly.
I don't remember what the resolution, but I remember us like, I'm very interested in the particulars, and then I don't remember what happened. And I was actually thinking about scrolling through 5 years of emails.
Yeah, it was just timing.
To figure out what exactly happened. It was all just weird timing. But let's see what the timing is on the bids.
Which is on a 30-second clock. Dylan Anthony at 9:50.
9:50, Dylan Anthony, 30-second clock. That means we go to the hard camera.
Yep.
We're going to settle this up
Wait
very
until
soon
we
in
get
about
these
30
10.
seconds. We're going to be a very generous 30 seconds because the lag is real here
That's
tonight.
true, yeah.
It is anytime we get over 300, it really
Gotta be fair.
Got to be fair. Get everybody more than enough time. By far one of the most successful shows already. So I can't thank you enough for that. And we've got one more auction item.
We do.
We got
Ren, come on.
Ren.
Ren Takibata came in $5 over at 9:55.
Oh boy.
9:55.
quickly, in $10 increments, but we're gonna let it go.
We're gonna let it go. We'll put it back over here. Who's got to let us? Dylan, you got to let us know if you're in or you're out. And the way you let us know you're in is you bid higher than 950.
Dylan's 960, so we're gonna do it.
960. Ren, once again, 6 clock. Ren, give him a time to Ren to say out, in, whatever. Just let us know. I'm gonna put it over here, right here, for now. Maybe have a little more conversation with you. I mean, I think people are really enjoying this. Is you talk about your creativity in professional wrestling, and you've talked about things you like, and everybody knows your successes. But were there any failures where you're like, "Ooh, I thought this was gonna work.
Mm-hmm.
It was okay, but it didn't get the success that I wanted"? Was there anything like that in your career where you're like, you know what, this should have been more successful, but timing-wise, algorithm-wise, wrong audience, wrong time. You're like, ooh, like in a different time or different place, this would have worked.
Yeah, absolutely. So I thought that we had really structured a very good, and it was kind of via multiple platforms. So we did it via Ring of Honor, we did it via Being the Elite, we did it on New Japan, where there was sort of a crumbling within the Bullet Club. And that's where the Elite split from Bullet Club, and that when it all came to a head, and we pulled the trigger on it. It worked probably mainly because we had Haku there.
Okay.
So Haku being there was a huge reason why it worked as well as it did. But we're supposed to have like so many more members, and we didn't have the numbers, so pretty much all of the Elite were beat down by like 3 guys, even though it should have been like 10 versus 5 or so.
Yeah.
And then we really wanted to kind of continue the story, and we, even though it really felt like it had impact, we just didn't have the support via all 3 platforms together. To continue the story and have it make sense. Because as soon as we pulled the trigger on the Bullet Club splitting, ROH still has shows and they still want to have their stories. New Japan still has shows and they still have their stories. And I was holding their belt, and they wanted me to do something else, even though I really wanted to tell this story about why the Bullet Club wasn't working and why there was just a meeting of the minds, and why my idea of what it was supposed to be, and why the idea of Fale, Tamatanga, and T, and why the older generation, why they thought of it as something else. And I wanted to explore that because it was really their sort of idea, and the reason why Bullet Club became a faction to begin with was a very different thing than when it had become under my reign as leader as Bullet Club. And I wanted to sort of show the difference in that, and sort of show that I wanted to give people a choice. Like, what's cooler to you? Is it what I thought it was, or was it what you thought it was? Like, as in like, the originals, like Carl Anderson, Prince Devitt, Tamatanga, Fale. And I really thought it could have been like fun for the viewer to kind of follow along and then make your choice through that. Not necessarily hating anybody, but just being able to explore sort of why the variations and the sort of eras of the Bullet Clubs are different, and why it had to become a split. Because I feel like now too, especially, I don't watch as much as I should, like New Japan's product and stuff, but it's like factions just kind of become just sort of like, they're just an afterthought. It's like, yeah, okay, when are we going to see the Chaos match? When are we going to see the Bullet Club match? It's like, yeah, of course you're going to see them every show, but I always think there needs to be a reason why they exist, and what's your motivations for existing. So anyway, long story short, it was unfortunate that we couldn't tie it all together between BTE, Ring of Honor, and New Japan when we pulled the trigger on splitting from Bullet Club, because I thought it could have been a real cool story. And I think people wanted to see it come to a head. And people are still kind of waiting like, hey, when are the Young Bucks gonna face like Tama Tonga and T? Like when is there any issue between Gallows and Anderson and everyone? And there are people that still wonder about this story, and I still really think it would be cool to tell that part of the story too. But again, we just never had the opportunity. So yeah, that's where like you sometimes you take the ball and you just kind of maybe force a play, and sometimes when you force it, and I always did this in New Japan a lot, like there's no real, people think that it's all, just booked to a T, but you really got to force your own play and force your hand, and on so many occasions I would force a hand and it would work out and then we would roll with it, but this is a case where we collectively forced a hand, but we weren't given the platform to kind of tell that story. So that's the moment where I was like, oh man, did we fail to tell something really cool? Because I think that could have been a real cool story. But I mean, because we never went there, it's still always there.
And there's almost history now
Yeah.
with everybody's going the directions they have.
Exactly. Now we have Bullet Club guys that are in WWE, we have Bullet Club guys in Impact, we have Bullet Club guys that are in AEW, we have Bullet Club guys in New Japan still.
And they can be like, hey, I'm here because of you
Exactly.
guys. I
Yep.
was elevated because of you. I got exiled because of this. We thought
Yeah.
this is a better option because you left. And then
So
this
even
happened.
though it failed in the moment, or we couldn't have the blow off that we wanted at that time, there's almost even more potential now because our forces are spread out amongst all the major promotions in all of the world. So it's actually almost more interesting now, in a way.
And anytime those collide, it'd be
Yeah,
fascinating.
yeah.
Let's see where the bids are colliding.
Ryan Kanabrowski, $1,000, put it on 30 seconds.
Whoa, hoo-hoo.
Dylan Anthony's out.
Dylan Anthony's out. 30-second clock.
Ren is not responding.
Ren is not responding. Obviously, the internet's working with just fine. We're at $1,000.
Yep.
Brian Kanabrowski, 30-second clock. We're giving it a genuine 30 seconds. The lag's very real. This ring-worn gear that smells fantastic, better than like I said, the body gel that is in my shower right now.
Yep.
That is incredible because this is a Marriott property, an actual Marriott property. But
Disclose that, Jay. Okay, you're gonna have people lined up outside tomorrow.
well, they don't know which one.
Yeah, that's true.
And don't worry, the lag is so real, by the time they hear that, he's going to be long gone. But with this auction's about already long gone in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Congratulations, Brian Kanabrowski.
Yay!
Pay your invoice. Let us know what you want
Heck
written
yeah.
on this if you wanted anything personalized.